record, as a former classroom teacher that belonged to a union, I had taken up some interest on unions and what they do for teachers, and after talking to a few teachers and getting some ideas from them, I was truly wondering if teachers really knew what unions did for them. So what I'd like to do is just ask you a few questions about your perception of what the union did for you when you were part of the membership.
Okay.
Thank you. Let me just ask this first question. What did have you ever had to use unions as part of a grievance process?
I might have, but the one time I had a concern that would have involved the union, the field rep decided arbitrarily, unilaterally, independently, just in an informal conversation between the two of us, that it was not a situation the union was interested in pursuing.
So, is the union rep legal counsel?
No, and they're very clear to tell you that. And members mistakenly believe that membership in the union automatically entitles you to legal counsel. And while the teachers union does retain legal counsel that it will use to support members, they told me that they would only invoke that service if they felt they could establish a precedent in the local or state or federal court system that would benefit the local, state, or federal teachers union in the future going forward.
So if you wanted to pursue the matter personally, you would have had to obtain your own legal counsel.
Exactly.
Ah, very interesting. So it's the union who decides whether or not you go further in your grievance if they give you their legal counsel.
Correct.
So your dues do not give you a choice in deciding if you want the counsel or not.
No, there's no guarantees. And not only that, it's not just a matter of legal representation. If it's just an informal trip through the grievance process, through the Broward County schools and the way they use the teachers union to mediate in a grievance, they even decide whether what you have is a gripe or a grievance, and if it's a grievance, whether it's worth even filing and pursuing.
Do you know what kind of precedents they're looking to set?
I think they're looking for things with broad policy implications. So like if for example, there's a free speech issue right now and the court hasn't made a decision about whether, and this is just an example, your right to free speech ends at the classroom door, for example. If there's a specific issue on a kind of protected speech maybe, and they would like it established with an opinion from a court that teachers are in fact able to engage in a certain kind of speech. I'm thinking, because I'm not an expert on this, I'm just a union member, or former union member, that's the kind of thing that they were talking about, that if they could in other words, in legal matters, somebody has to have been injured before they can get recompense and before it can be redressed. So they need to find one of these teachers who has been, whose action has been taken against them by their principal or their school board, so they can champion that cause and then get a court to agree, yes, that was the wrong reaction from the school district or from the principal, and so in future legal issues they can refer to that precedent. So matters of protected speech, I'm thinking, or any gray area in policy, I think, is the guiding principle.
So it's more policy agenda. Now, say in this particular gripe, do you feel like you had any recourse in just simply speaking to your own principal, or did you feel like that door was shut there?
No, because what happens is you develop a relationship with principals where they want to maintain goodwill with you. So their position is that if they could help you, they would. And they kind of hide behind their operational constraints, hide behind existing policies, whatever they can hide behind. But if it doesn't solve your problem, then you're in the sticky situation of having a good relationship with the school-based leader, but not the outcome that you want.
I see. So in this particular case, though, so it's only the unions are available for a grievance process. Does the school district have any kind of human resource policies that are in place that you, again, could use on a personal level?
Well, to my knowledge, having worked in the public school system for 10 years and having been a union member for that entire time, my understanding is that if you are not a member of the union and the principal has not followed policy, the only thing you can do is go to your principal's boss here in Broward County. That's the area director, and then the area director's boss is the area superintendent. And I have heard of teachers who have gone to the area office to try to get some of those issues straightened out, but that's kind of an alternative, because the district is just assuming that everybody belongs to the union, because I think in Broward, 70 or 80% of the teachers do.
So have you ever had a case where there was someone that did not belong to a union and had a grievance?
Yes, and that was particularly infuriating for all of the teachers who did belong to the union, because the union dues are $600 a month. They're going to be. I'm sorry, $600 a year. They're $600 a year, and they're some of the lowest in the entire country. They're going to be going up soon, because the union wasn't really charging members what it really costs. But that's a whole nother issue.
Exactly.
There was a reading coach. I won't say the name of the school, but it was Plantation Middle School, and the reading coach there had been assigned to teach a class. And district policy says that reading specialists should remain free of those kinds of duties, so that they can support teaching and learning in the area of reading for all the faculty in the school. So the principal had violated policy to see if she could get away with it, probably knowing that the reading specialist was not a member of the union. So what the reading specialist did was call up the union and ask, even though she wasn't a member, what they could do to help her. And they said that they would be willing to help her if she simply wrote out a check for her union dues. So she joined the union and got representation the same day after having worked in the school for 12 years without contributing dues to the union, and is probably a union member now and continues to pay her dues, but for the first 12 years of her career didn't join in, but got represented anyway. And that's not the only story I've heard in the K-12 system of teachers abstaining from membership in the union until it was time.
Until they needed it.
Right.
Because there's no other recourse except the union.
Right.
Okay, speaking of dollars and cents, do you know anything about the union operating budget? Do you know where your dues go besides for your gripes?
I didn't until my local union had a scandal that involved the president of the union being ousted because it turned out that the upper management of the union was partying like rock stars with union dues. But I do know a couple of things. Money gets taken out of my paycheck every pay period to belong to the union. And the 3 union stewards at my school site go to the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino every year. They get a complimentary, well, not complimentary, but the union pays for them to stay there for a night, and they have a full day of meetings. And that's one of the things that the state and national union has questioned about the operations of our local union, is that they make kind of grandiose expenditures, whether or not they're able to, and have actually spent more than they have coming in, because they do lavish things like that.
Do you think there's more potential for corruption at the local level than there would be at the national level?
Absolutely, and a very concrete example of that is in the reading that I did about this local scandal. There were certain expense accounts that the president and vice president of the union had to work with in a discretionary way to do things like fund travel around the district, to fund travel out of the district, to give gifts to individuals who are in a position to help the union's cause. And like most organizations, they really should provide receipts for exactly how that money was spent. And a vast majority of the money that was spent over the last 4 years by the previous leadership, there was no documentation for how any of the money was spent. And that's why I only half-jokingly characterized their spending as partying like rock stars. Because the only thing that a person can conclude is that the individuals were enjoying a higher quality of life and a higher standard of living because they were spending union dues without accounting for it by providing receipts. What else is somebody left to conclude?
Okay,